progress.
Okay, good morning. And we are doing chapter 15 today, the giving of the word. We're still moving on with understanding the process of the initiation ceremonies. All right, this starts off with what's called the solar words. The basis of all manifested phenomena is the enumerated sound, or the words spoken with power, that is, with the full purpose of the will behind it. And in that is something to think about by itself. Herein, as is known, lies the value of meditation, for meditation produces eventually that inner dynamic purpose and recollection, or that internal ideation, which must invariably precede the uttering of any creative sound. When it is said that the Logos produced the worlds through meditation, it means that within his own center of consciousness, there was a period wherein he brooded over and meditated upon the purposes and plans he had in view, wherein he visualized to himself the entire world process as a perfected whole, seeing the end from the beginning and being aware of the detail of the consummated sphere. Then, when his meditation was concluded and the whole completed as a picture before his inner vision, he brought into use a certain word of power which had been committed to him by the one about whom naught may be said. He brought into use a certain word of power which had been committed to him by the one whom naught may be said, the Logos of the cosmic scheme of which our system is but a part. With cosmic and logoic initiations, we are not concerned, except insofar as the human initiations reflect their stupendous prototypes. It is of interest to the student to realize that just as at each initiation some word of power is committed to the initiate, so similarly the Logos was committed the great word of power which produced our solar system, that word which is called the sacred word, or Om with A-U-M. It must be here remembered that this sound, Om, is man's endeavor to reproduce on an infinitesimal scale the cosmic triple sound whereby creation was made possible. The words of power of all degrees have a triple sequence. This, if you've ever done some meditation work, and built maybe a house in the stars in a very detailed manner, or something to that effect, that you can kind of get a slight feel for the process of what that on a tiny scale, obviously, but of what the Logos was doing there, and then having that thought form, and then giving that thought form power. So this is also a meditation. It's like in my mind, from my perspective, it's something, we're sitting in a meditation. But first, they are sounded by some fully self-conscious entity, and this invariably takes place after a period of deliberation or meditation, wherein the purpose in toto is visualized. Second, they affect the Deva kingdom and produce the creation of forms. This effect is dual in character. The Devas on the evolutionary path, the great builders of the solar system, and those under them, who have passed the human stage respond to the sound of the word and with conscious realization collaborate with the one who has breathed forth, and thus the work is carried out. B, the devas on the involutionary arc, the lesser builders, who have not passed through the human stage, also respond to the sound, but unconsciously or perforce, and through the power of the initiated vibrations, build the required forms out of their own substance. Third, they act as a stabilizing factor, and as long as the force of the sound persists, the forms cohere. When the logos, for instance, finishes the sound of the sacred Om, AUM, and the vibration ceases, then disintegration of the forms will ensue. So with the planetary logos, and thus on down the scale. And we know that for a while, or at least for the beginning of this, the soul is in meditation. And it says the soul is in meditation throughout the entire incarnation, essentially. So this is, this is a process of meditation, it appears, right? So we'll just keep going here. The words of power, or the permutations of the Om, exist in every possible tone, subtone, and quarter tone, and upon these shades of sound, the work of creation and its sustentation is built up. A multiplicity of sounds exists within each greater sound and affects different groups. It must be remembered also, generally and broadly speaking, the sounds within the solar system fall into two groups. One, there's the initiatory sound, or those which produce manifestation or phenomena of any kind on all planes, and two, the eventuating sounds. And this is a bit more detailed here. These sounds, eventuating sounds, are those which are produced from within the forms themselves during the evolutionary process, and which are the aggregate of the tones of every form in any particular kingdom of nature. Every form likewise has a tone which is produced by the minute sounds produced by the atoms composing that form. These sounds grow out of the other group and affect inferior groups or kingdoms, if the word inferior may be used in connection with any department of divine manifestation. For instance, the human kingdom, the fourth creative hierarchy, was produced by a triple Om sound in a particular key by the three persons of the Trinity in unison: God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit, or also known as Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma. This sound is still going forth. The interplay and interblending of the many tiny notes of each human being produces a great united sound, which can be heard in the high places, and which in turn is having a definite effect upon the animal kingdom. It is one of the factors which produces animal forms, both for human and animal occupation, for it must ever be remembered that man links the animal and the divine. So we're getting, we're bringing things together here. This is great. It is neither possible nor desirable to enumerate the words of power, but certain general indications may be given which will help the student realize somewhat the magnitude of the subject and its intricacy. One, the great word as sounded by the logos of the solar system and communicated to him by his superior. Two, there's three words committed by the solar logos to each of the three logoi as follows. A, the sacred sound, A, to Shiva, who embodies the spirit or will aspect. It is the word through which God the Father works. B is the sound U, to Vishnu, God the Son. He is the form builder and provides the body which the spirit must occupy. thereby making divine incarnation possible. A is the life sound, U is the form sound. And then there is the sound M to Brahma in his work of energy provider, and links in active intelligence, spirit, and form, or the self and not self. It might here be pointed out that much information anent the three departments of the hierarchy of our planet will come to the student who wisely ponders these functions. Well, I guess we ponder them. Seven great words, again based on the sacred three sounds, A, U, M. These produced creation, or the manifestation of the seven planes of our solar system. They are committed not to human entities, but to the seven great devas or Raja lords, who are the ensouling lives of a plane. Hence, in the various initiations, their collaboration is necessary before these keywords can be committed to the initiate. 4 are 49 words related to the 49 subplanes or fires, in which we've said 49. We've heard the word 49 fires before. And if we look again on the constitution of man chart, and each plane is broken up into 7 subplanes, with there being 7 planes for the cosmic physical plane, which is what we're on, dealing on and with. These again are committed to the 49 builders of the sacred fires. The above 2 groups of words are in the jurisdiction of the third aspect and are given out by Brahma. And the third aspect being into active intelligence. Right? The first being will, the second being love, wisdom, and the third being active intelligence. There are, so in those 3, Brahma, Vishnu, or Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma, there is a lot going on there as well. Right? It doesn't stop with just that. There's a lot to be brought together there too. There are again 5 great words with signs which come under the department of Vishnu, who are God the Son, and are breathed out by him. By their means, the 5 kingdoms of nature on the evolutionary arc came into being. The mineral, vegetable, animal, human, and spiritual kingdoms. So in that we do have 5 there. And again, we can be thinking about this through the constitution of man chart. These 5 are permutations of, or are built up upon the sound U, as the ones earlier enumerated are built up upon the sound M. In connection with the first 3 kingdoms, it may be of interest to note that they are based upon 2 sounds. The U sounded on the basic key tone of the M. In the 4th kingdom, the M tone is dying down, and the 2 notes sounded forth are the U and the A. I want to, excuse me. I want to say that this is really a huge thing. It's like this dissipation, but an evolutionary dissipation, or Yeah, that's incredible. In the fifth kingdom, the M has subsided into a distant undertone. The U is blended with it so as to be indistinguishable, and the A or Shiva note is pealing forth in power and is practically the only note heard. By the sounding of this note, that of Shiva, the destroyer, the not self is negated, and all that is not of spirit passes into dissolution. It is the coming in of the A sound which affects the severance or liberation of the initiate from the three worlds. Boy, I'll tell you, this is just such great stuff here for contemplation, because we're really taking it into a much deeper level at this point, an originating type of level. We're really knocking a lot of the illusion out of this, and that takes a minute to put together. There are certain words also committed to each of the planetary logoi, and they are the basis of planetary manifestation. As is well known, the sound of the Brahma aspect, or the third aspect of our particular planetary logos, is FA. And herein lies much of illumination as to his point in evolution, for it is immediately apparent that the A sound is reaching even the dense physical. And this was obviously would require a study of the sacred sounds, but it's not something that's really delve into very deeply in the blue books, but it certainly goes. It can certainly be found. The information can be found, and I know that it's taught in some of the esoteric schools and such. Within our own hierarchy, there are a number of words built up upon the great word of our planetary logos, and these are committed to the departmental heads, who in turn pass them on in permutated order to the graded initiates. It will be wise here for the student to differentiate carefully in his mind between words and sounds, for the word veils the thought or intended idea or purpose, and the sound makes it possible to manifest in matter of some kind on one or other of the 7 planes. We cannot here trace the expansion of the basic words from their enunciation by cosmic entities down to the infinitesimal differentiations produced in the speech of man, the vocal expression of the animals, and the song of birds. Each is a manifestation of consciousness in some degree, and each produces an effect. What the initiate is learning to do is to make sounds consciously, and thus produce a studied and desired result, to utter words and be fully aware of the consequence on all planes, and to create forms and direct energy through sacred sounds, and thus further the ends of evolution. So, this is another level of intelligence. Not an idle word spoken, essentially. And this alludes to the fact that there are implications to the things we say. They do have power. The words do have power, and we need to be aware of what's being said, and take that more seriously. Now that I would say that it is true that's another level of awareness, like that, after we've done a lot of this work and gone through, our thought processes, and, we're dealing on the physical plane, we deal on our emotions, and then, we're also dealing on the mental plane. And as we're dealing on the mental plane, our, control of our, vehicle should become more finely tuned. And so this would be a higher expression, I want to say. This is incredible to who is in full and complete charge over, every word that comes out. We sometimes, when we should look throughout the day, at the conversations we have to see whether they were beneficial or not, to see if the things that we said helped or did any harm. And that's not really what we're alluding to here. Here it's like a full recognition, but we should be doing these things and working towards that. That way the words that do come out are only beneficial, and have the power that they're intended to. It has been necessary to digress thus before taking up the committal of words to the initiate, in order to emphasize the radical importance of the matter, and thus account for the carefully guarding of this aspect of divine work. Absolutely, right? We just kind of said that. This was a good, that was a necessary introduction there for us, and it really alluded to a lot. The use of the words. We have already dealt with the significance of the words of power in a brief manner. We might now sum up certain of the inferred postulates, and then touch somewhat upon the initiation ceremony and the words as committed to the initiate. The postulates here made are 9 in number, and if duly pondered upon by the aspirant, will reveal to him much anent or about the creative process and the power of speech. 1. All the words of power are rooted in the great word committed to the solar logos at the dawn of manifestation. 2. All the words of power are permutations or expansions of the 3 basic sounds, and increase in length as the planes are involved, until the sentences and speech of the finite unit man and their myriad differentiations are arrived at. Boy, is that deep. 3. Therefore, on the path of return, speech becomes even more brief, words are more sparingly used, and the time eventually comes when the adept employs formulas of words only as required to carry out specific purposes along 2 lines. A, definite creative processes, and B, specific direction of energy. And as we know, words are veils, and they're really carrying energy. This, of course, on the planes in the 3 worlds. 4, the aspirant, therefore, has mainly 3 things to do when preparing for initiation. A, to control every activity of his threefold lower nature. This involves the application of intelligent energy to every atom of his 3 sheaths, physical, astral, and mental. It is literally the shining forth of the Brahma, or 3rd aspect of the inner God. Boy, if that doesn't give us some indication of the work to be done, right? You have the power to control, but are we? We have the power. We can do this. It's been given to us to do this. This is the work to get out, of the lower 3 worlds into the worlds of reality. And are we doing it? And if we are aspirants, how well are we doing it? Have we made ourselves fully ready? And this requires a very deep look at our life at that point. All right, so B, to control his speech every minute of every day. This is a statement easily made, but most difficult to make practical. He who achieves it is rapidly nearing emancipation. This applies not to the reticence, the moroseness, the silence, and the voicelessness, which often distinguishes natures, but little evolved. And in which, in reality, an inarticulate condition, it refers to the controlled use of words to effect certain ends and the retention of speech energy when not needed. A very different matter, certainly. See, I do not remember reading this, and I think I've read this book twice over in the past. I read Rays and Initiations, being one of the newer books, and being very interested in the rays and the ray structures, and it's really alluding to much deeper things. I primarily focus on that, somewhere between a treatise on white magic and Rays and Initiations. But this is great. I'm so glad we're reading this again. It involves a realization of cycles, of times, and of seasons. It supposes a knowledge of the power of sound and of the effects produced through the spoken word. It involves an apprehension of the building forces of nature and their due manipulation, and is based on an ability to wield mental matter and to set in motion in order to produce results in physical matter consonant with the clearly defined purpose of the inner God. It is the shining forth of the second aspect of the self, the Vishnu, or form-building aspect, which is the prime characteristic of the ego on its own plane. And wisdom, it would also include wisdom. It would be well to ponder on this. C, to meditate and thus arrive at the purpose of the ego. By thus meditating the first aspect comes steadily into greater prominence, and the conscious will of the inner God can make itself felt on the physical plane. The three activities of the aspirant must parallel each other, and it will be noted that the second is the outcome of the first and will manifest as energy on the physical plane. Only when the aspirant has made real progress in these three lines of endeavor will the first of the great words be committed to him. Every great word includes within itself its differentiations, its expansions and permutations, and by its utterance, the initiate sets in motion the lesser through the vibration of the greater. Hence the terrific responsibility and the magnitude of the results achieved. Each word is committed to the initiate orally and visually. It is spoken to him first in the form of 7 syllables, each of which he has to memorize as a separate word. Then he is shown how to blend these 7 so as to make a threefold sound and thus produce more united and far-reaching results. Finally, the 3 are blended into one word, which is committed to him. The 7 words, which which form the great word at any initiation are communicated to the initiate by the initiates of equal rank with his own. This group divides itself into 7 groups according to sub-ray or ray formation, and each group then chants one word in rapid rotation. Simultaneously, the colors and symbols of the various sounds pass in front of him so that he hears and sees that which is committed to him. The more advanced group around the throne of office, the 3 departmental heads at the first 2 initiations and the Pratyeka Buddhas at the final ones, chant then for him the triple word which blends the 7, and then again he sees it before his inner eye. Finally, the initiatory sounds, the initiator sounds it forth, and the initiate becomes aware within himself in practical experience of the one great sound, and knows in one particular center what its vibration is. As is well known, every center is connected with some plane, scheme, ray, and other septenary division, and thus the significance of its inner reaction will be apparent. Six, the masters and initiates, in their work of aiding the evolution of the 3 worlds, concern themselves principally with the 7 syllables of the word of their degree or initiated grade. The 3 words which blend the 7 are seldom used except under the direct sanction of one of the departmental heads. According to the syllable involved, each word is directly connected with the triple Om, and therefore with the Brahma, Vishnu, or Shiva aspect, of which the 3 heads are the planetary representatives. When any initiate desires to use, for evolutionary purposes, the entire word as a unit, the sanction of the assembled lodge has to be gained. For such a word affects the matter of an entire plan within a planetary scheme, and consequently the matter of those planes which are subsidiary to the one involved. For instance, an initiate of the 3rd degree in sounding the word of his degree affects the matter of the lower mental subplanes, and subsequently the matter of the astral and physical planes. An initiate of the 2nd degree similarly affects the astral plane and subsequently the physical plane. Far-reaching results are thus achieved, and the work of many is thus affected. Every word we're on 7 now. Every word differentiated or synthesized affects the Deva kingdom, and hence the form-building aspect of manifestation. No sound is ever made without producing a corresponding response in Deva substance and driving multitudes of tiny lives to take specific forms. These forms persist and carry out their function just as long as the sound which caused them is prolonged, and the specific will energy of the one who initiated the sound is directed towards the living form. This is equally true of a solar logos enunciating the Om, and thus producing the solar system, of a planetary logos sounding his planetary word and producing a planetary scheme, of an adept producing results for the helping of humanity on the physical plane, and of an ordinary human being who, in much diversified speech, expresses an inner purpose or state of mind, and thus builds a form or vehicle in Deva substance. The majority of human beings as yet build unconsciously, and the form constructed is either of a beneficent or maleficent agency, according to the underlying motive or purpose of the man, and will carry out his will as long as its term of being persists. #, 8, every word sounded is distinguished by A specific color, B, a particular tone, C, a special form, D, a degree of energy or activity, and E, the nature of the ensouling life, self-conscious, conscious, or unconscious, God, man, or Deva. The student again will find this equally true of a solar system, of a planetary scheme, of a human being, of a thought form ensouled by an elemental life, and of the atom of the physicist or chemist. In the knowledge of these facts and in their conscious realization may be known the true occultist. The solar logos sounded forth a word. The form of our solar system came into being, its color being blue, and its note a particular cosmic musical tone. Its degree of activity is of specific mathematical notation beyond the grasp of the human mind at this stage of development, and the nature of its great ensouling life, that of the triple logos, is active, intelligent love. The great word of our solar system keys in, if it might be so expressed, with other words, and is but one word of the sevenfold word, known to that great existence who stands in the same relation to the solar logos as the latter does to the planetary logos. The sacred words of 7 solar systems, of which ours is but one, make up this septenary sound which vibrates at this time in the cosmic spheres. What's that called? And they call it the music of the spheres, right? The song of the spheres. And these 9 statements are very curiously summed up the major truths or about the creative processes in the solar system. In them lies hidden the secret of the true magic, and in their comprehension will come to the man who has spiritual intuition, purity of life and motive, altruistic intention, and a stern self-control and courage, the power to further the purposes of the ego, who is a conscious collaborator in the work of evolution, and they share in part of the plans of the planetary logos of our scheme. They are given in this brief form both to protect the concealed truths and yet to reveal them to those who are ready. These 7 words of the solar system, which form the logoic word, which we only know in its triple form as Om, are revealed at the 7 initiations. At the first initiation is given the word for the physical plane. At the second is given the word for the astral. The third is given the word for the lower mental. At this initiation, in which, as earlier said, the Hierophant is the Lord of the world, not only is the word given for the lower mental plane, but a word which synthesizes the 3 words for the 3 worlds is also committed. It is given to the initiate as a topic for meditation until he takes the 4th initiation, but he is forbidden to use it until the final liberation, as it gives entire control on the 3 lower planes. At the 4th initiation, the word for the higher mental plane is imparted. At the 5th initiation, the word for the Buddhic plane is given. At the 6th initiation, the word for the Atmic plane, and the 7th, the word for the monadic plane is given. At the 6th initiation, the word which synthesizes the 4th, 5th, and 6th words is given by the Hierophant, and thus the initiate wields complete control through the power of sound over the substance of the 5 planes of human evolution. At the 7th initiation, the triple Om and its true character is revealed to the illuminated Buddha, and he can then manipulate energy in the 6 worlds or planes. Two more initiations can be taken, but little is ever said about them on our Earth scheme, for the reason that our scheme is not a sacred scheme, and few, if any, of our humanity achieve the 8th and 9th initiations. To do so, they must first pass to another scheme for a lengthy period of service and instruction. All that can be hinted at is that at the 8th initiation, the duality of the triple Om is brought out, and at the 9th, the one sound of the Absolute stands revealed, and its significance is heard and seen. This brings into consciousness of the initiate somewhat of the energy and power of the one about whom naught may be said, or the logos of our solar logos. The unit of consciousness is then perfect, and the logos is perfect, and passes on to work paralleling that of the solar logos. Such is the great program and the opportunity reaching out before the sons of man, and before every atom everywhere. Well, this really should be pulled apart and probably, certainly read again. And then I would recommend this be something that you get your eyeballs on, so it is put into the both the mental and the higher planes, so that it's there, and we're feeding the mental plane and evoking the synthesis of this at some point, because this is very fundamental, really. I mean, we've talked, I'm sure you gotten into these things before. I know I have, but and I've studied some of these things to some extent, but this is really bringing it. It's like bringing it to the forefront again with new understanding. And that's just like we say, every time you read these books, it looks different. You could read this, go back to the same page a week later, and it'll read very differently. This is not fictional stuff. You will have synthesized that, and it'll be fresh. And now you'll be looking at it with new eyes and a new awareness. So you'll be pulling out the next level of the synthesis that can happen. Great stuff. Just amazing that we get to experience this, and it's a real lift. Okay, I'm going to leave it there, and then we will get into chapter 16 tomorrow, which is the imparting of the secrets. So that should also be very interesting. Okay, not that it's not all interesting, it's just it'll be another good one, but today was something. All right, something to really focus on. Have a good one. Thanks.